to meet you. Thank you for agreeing to spend a few minutes for this conversation. And I think that the first question would be to you. How are you doing?
Thanks. I'm doing great. I just had a little talk with a player. It wasn't about the Wim Hof method. It was about another topic. But yeah, I'm in the context of the academy right now. I'm working as a psychologist here, and since I'm an instructor, I use the Wim Hof method here and there a little bit, just a little bit, and why a little bit I will tell you later. But yeah, I'm doing great right in the middle of the day, and I'm happy to talk about Wim Hof method in sports with you. Yeah.
So exactly. So the next question would be to briefly present what you are doing professionally, to give a bit of context why we are talking now, and then we talk about the Wim Hof method. So just
Yeah. Okay. I've been a sports psychologist for about 10 years now. Most of my time I work with young elite athletes at the age of 14 till 20. So that's my main focus. Mostly in football, but also in other sports like swimmers or tennis players. But football's my main focus. And yeah, I work here with workshops, telling my athletes about the benefits of good sleep, good nutrition, mental training, goal setting, how you deal with difficult situations when you don't play, when you're injured, how to keep a positive mindset, help them to develop their growth. That's my main focus with workshops, individual talks. And when they get older, 16, 17, 19, 18, I help them more on an individual coaching basis and individual training. For example, training-wise, we do virtual reality training to improve their orientation, scanning behavior on the field, just as an example. And then, of course, I work with the coaches, because the coaches are the first psychologists when they work with the players to improve their coaching on the field and their communication with the players. That
very interesting.
Sorry. My role here in the academy at Red Bull Leipzig.
Okay. Once again, because I interrupted you.
Yeah, Red Bull Leipzig or Rasenballsport Leipzig. That's the official term, but everybody knows our club as Red Bull Leipzig.
Okay.
Yes, and we just to mention it, we have one colleague with a professional team as well, and another colleague who works with me in the youth, because we have about 150 players. So there are many things we can help, but we have and that's the final part. We also are invited to help to grow the culture here, the communication, the collaboration among the specialists, the coaches, the managers. So we shape the environment, and that's a big thing we can do here.
Yeah, it's super interesting, because what you were saying is exactly what I was thinking about. Psychology in sports is not just about how one orientates in the field and what decisions one makes just when they are needed to be done or made, but it's also about the general atmosphere, about the inner motivation, about many other aspects that are crucial for a person to not just be calm, but actually also to perform in the field. So that is very interesting, and it's nice to hear, because I know, especially as most probably you might have an idea, a clue about like Eastern European culture or school of motivating professionals, be them sportsmen or cultural representatives. It's often still through some sort of outside strict motivation that is not necessarily coming from the heart and all these kind of things. So it's very interesting. That is a separate topic, the psychology topic. So nice to hear. And also you mentioned positive mindset. This is very nice to be heard, especially when we speak about professional athletes, and that is still somehow integratable. So it's nice to hear. And then I will move to another question, which is how did you come up with an idea to become a Wim Hof method instructor? And you can start from whenever, you know, it could be when you were 5 years old.
Yeah. It's not a long story. I think I started 3.5 years ago. I think it was before COVID, the winter before COVID. I found it on the internet somehow. I found Wim sitting on the ice, meditating, and it touched me in my inner heart, like, okay, the connection to nature, also this wild side thing, going into the extreme atmosphere and to withstand the cold with breathing and meditation. That really touched me, and I tried out the breathing, and I was directly hooked into it, or soaked into it, because I felt this inner peace, but also I felt my body on a different level, and it was kind of a quick, lightning meditation for me. I always tried to get into meditation, but I'd never been successful. So that was my way into meditation. That helped me to meditate afterwards more calmly and more easily. So that was my way into it, and that's why my inner voice told me, okay, Nils, just do the instructor. You can adapt it into the sports world. You can show it as a new method, as a different method than the other, you know, muscle relaxation techniques, auto suggestion. It's like a mental training to calm down. These are also nice techniques. I coach my athletes. But I also like this breathing technique because it's different to other breathing techniques. Like the other breathing techniques are also just fine, but this one was like a little bit special. And so that was just to have this tool in my suitcase was interesting to have. So that's why I decided to make the education, and teach the method here in some ways, not in total 100% ways. And, you know, I love football, I love the sports world, I love elite performance, but it's also, at the end, it's also about, you know, winning, losing, improving, higher, faster, competition. And there's also the other world, which is, you know, a more normal world, and to connect and to bring this nice method into the normal world, and to see the potential and the power of the method in total for our health, for our mental well-being, physical well-being. That was like a magic tool I had in my hand that I wanted to teach others, you know, in the normal world, to improve their mental and physical state. That was my motivation.
Yeah, so one question I wanted to ask later, but I'll ask now, is basically the target group of your trainings. Is it still the regular people, so to say, the normal world people, or are those actually sportsmen, or do you, like in your trainings, you organize them, I guess, to some workshops?
Yeah, you know, here in the sports world, I just offer on a voluntary basis the workshops, cold or breathing, or both together, from players age on 15, 16 till 19. That's where I start. But also, you know, just as one of different relaxation tools. And very and shorter and more you know, precise, on point, than compared to the workshops I do outside in the normal world, when I have my 5 till 10 people in a workshop. We do our 5 till 6 hour session, and we take time to go also deep into the theory, but also extend the breathing, extend the reflection afterwards, and share some more insights and feelings. I mean, of course, there's always room in the sports world to share your inner feelings and how you know, what came up, and but it's also a world with less time, you know, because training and physiotherapy and school and there, so I need to make compromises in the sports world. But, I find my windows.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, interesting. And would it be that you actually then with the sportsmen, you apply the breath work mostly and not the cold part, right? So we are talking about the that pillar, so to say.
Very, very good question. You know, when I knew we have our appointment today, I was thinking about it, and yes, I differentiate between breathing and cold. I also give just as a little introduction 2.5 hour workshops. First breathing, then the cold, because as you know, when you do the breathing first, your mind
Yeah.
is set. You know, you have less anxious thoughts about going into the cold, and it's really nice combined to go into the cold. But especially the cold is, as you know, a very strong
Stressor.
impact, a stressor. And high performance athletes and even young athletes, you know, they have a lot of stress already in their athletic life. So you need to be careful, because they don't have too much time to recover from big stressors. They already need time to recover from the training outside on the pitch, recover from weight training, athletic training, recover from school. So, and then there's not much time to recover from the cold. Yes, of course we do cold exposition. Yes, they go into the cold bath, but not ice cold bath. Our cold bath here for regeneration after a tough exercise is, I think, about 12 till 14 degrees cold. And then they do it maybe for 1 minute, if they like 2 minutes, but it's not like, you know, 2 or 3 ice cold temperature water and stay there for 2 minutes, because that would be just too much stress.
Yeah, very good point, because we tend to say that it's very important to get the doses of stress. We call them hormetic stressors, right? So that the regular person builds the resilience towards other stresses, all these kind of things. It's anti-inflammatory, but in this specific target group, I guess, as you said, there's so much of that kind of stress through sports, also psychological and through lifestyle, but that one we all have, that it is very important to maintain the balance. And I guess we assume, right, and we know, of course, as well, but let's say people assume then that breath work doesn't cause that same amount of stress, or that it doesn't exhaust in the same way the body as cold does, right? Maybe you could just confirm or disagree with what with that assumption.
Yeah, I agree. But you can also, like, you can modulate and regulate both the breathing, and because if you high intensity breathing, like even the basic breathing can be very intense if you do it for longer rounds, and higher speed, or even the power breathing can really be also very intense. And you can regulate that. I will come to that in a minute. And you can also regulate the cold, as I said, you know, not too cold, shorter times, and maybe the frequency during the week. So what I recommend is, if you like it and if you can deal with it, and I can show you how to get into and build kind of resistance and build your mental strength as well, 2 till 3 times, or 1 to 3 times a week. Yeah, shorter duration, not too cold. Especially, you know, when they have a very tough team training on the pitch, I recommend, yes, do it afterwards or after the game, because then you recover better, and you have fresher legs, and they are not as sore as you wouldn't go the next day. So that's a big thing. I don't recommend going into the cold when you do like weight training and you want to improve your muscle. Because when you do this very ice cold bath after like weight training, you compensate, or you reduce the effect of weight training, because what happens, weight training is also hormetic stress, and we want this hormetic stress in our body to respond as, yes, repair and build new muscle cells. But when we come with a cold, it tells our body, it's not too bad, the inflammation is smaller as before, and then we don't build as many muscles as we want to. So no cold bath within 24 hours after weight training when you want to build up muscle mass.
Okay. Does it work the other way around? If you do not want
Yeah.
to build the muscle mass and you do the cold training after after
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
yeah,
You will not lose it. You will not lose it.
but you will
But
stop growing.
yeah.
I think it's not a popular problem, but maybe someone. But okay, very interesting. Okay, and going to the breath work, which is the focus here, also very nice, because we know that breath work can be, you know, put on a higher speed, slowed down, applied to make the person activated, applied to make him or her cool down. Like there are so many ways to actually play with the breath work in order to achieve different goals, that it's just like a topic by itself, never ending. But in this context, yeah, what do you do? What are the main goals? You already mentioned a few, but maybe just to repeat once again, in your work with sports people, regarding the breath work in general, and also with the Wim Hof method.
Well, what I recommend is in regarding the Wim Hof method breathing. I think, and I would like definitely there are some slight differences between the sports, but in general, I would recommend, yes, try it and see how it fits in. Normally, I would recommend try to build it into your morning routine. Because, you know, even the 3-round breathing, 12 minutes, 30 minutes is just fine. Because, yeah, you will see what it, you know, it clears your mind, sharpens your focus, rises your adrenaline. Yeah, you are ready, you are alert in a good way, in a calm way. That will carry you through the day. But don't do it like the 3-round breathing just before competition. I wouldn't recommend it, because that's from my experience, too much. Because when you really blow off the carbon dioxide and you have this nice, calm, but also alert state, yes, you are alert and you're here and you're within, but just before competition, you need also the attention going outside and like also be physical ready, really physical to go at the highest level. And as you know, there's not only the Wim Hof method, but there's also the oxygen advantage breathing and the potato breathing. And what they say, there's also much truth in it, that we need carbon dioxide to transport the oxygen from the blood to the cell. But if we blow it off with the Wim Hof method by breathing out, offloading carbon dioxide, we don't have the carbon dioxide we need, the CO2, to transport the O2 into our cells right before competition. So when you do it in the morning, you have enough time, 2, 3, 4 hours to re-level the CO2 levels, and then they will be just fine before competition. So that's one of my main giveaways for the athletes.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, we know about the CO2 importance for the oxygen delivery, basically, in the tissues. And but there is also the Wim Hof power breathing, which is also about pushing out the CO2. But it is sometimes advised to be used in order to activate yourself before anything where you need to be super active. But then again, maybe in sports, it's not exactly, in professional sports, not exactly the field to apply it. How would you, because you were talking about the 3-round basic Wim Hof breath work, right? And what about the power breathing? The one that really blows your adrenaline up and kinda makes you super alert and like in a hunt mode. And how would you say?
I remember when Bart Pronk, you remember, one of our Wim Hof method instructors and teachers back in Poland, was telling us, yes, you can use the power breathing just for, you know, for competition for athletes. And I felt a strong resistance at that time. I didn't raise my voice because I wasn't 100% sure why, and I thought about it. And then after the session, I was like, yeah, I know why, because it can be very emotional. It can be also very exhausting. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, again, you can also feel in your mind that you are more calm with your body. So what I would recommend is, yes, power breathing, but maybe just 5 deep breaths. And then you hold your breath and you, yeah, imagine how you bring the O2 up into your mind, into your brain, and you release all the good chemicals you need with it. And it's just 5 or 10 breaths. You will not offload this critical amount of CO2. Yeah.
So like a
This is
tiny
something I
bit,
would say.
like in homeopathy, a tiny dose would do the magic in a way.
Yeah. And as you know, when we did the brown fat activation, this is the power breathing just after the cold. We also do just 5 till 10 breath.
Yeah.
But you also feel the power.
Yeah.
And to play with it and to test it, how it feels. This is something I would tell and advise my athletes to try out. But always depending on reflect yourself. Are you like under stressed or overstressed? Because if you are overstressed, okay, maybe then just a relaxation technique. Just a nice 4 breath, like on a count on 1, 2, 3, 4, breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, breathe out, or just, imagine yourself being at a nice place and you relax yourself, whatever. So it's always depending. If you're overstressed, do another relaxation technique. If you're under stressed, maybe the power breathing in a intense, short way. This will be the key for you to show best performance.
Okay, so it's very individual, because one of the questions from my friends was exactly what breathing technique to use just before the start, let's say before a triathlon, Ironman, or maybe just a shorter, not as exhausting a thing that would be a sprint, I don't know, whatever. So of course, most probably it also depends on what you are preparing for, right? Or no? I guess. But still, the question was, what would you recommend? And then, as you said, it's super individual, but keyword is CO2 level, not to push it too down. And also, but still, there is most probably in your everyday life some sort of tendency, and there is most probably some more popular method you might use or you see that works before football match than the other one. So what?
I would say I would not put too much emphasis on just before the competition moment. What kind of breathing technique is the perfect technique? Because it's also individual. But rather, when we look at breathing techniques, look more at the general way of using your breath and how you can use breathing techniques to improve performance in general. So, for example, what I would always recommend is for most athletes, when you do your endurance work, go into nose breathing. Try breathing through your nose, because what happens, you breathe in less oxygen actually, and you train your body to be ready and work with less oxygen, but then it gets more efficient. And this is like one way, because when you, for example, when you do your marathon or you're running or you're swimming, and you can show the same performance or even better performance with less breathing, that's the way. That's probably one very interesting way. But this is just the way when you you integrate the breathing training as a full part into your daily training. And then I would, for example, recommend look into Buteyko Oxygen Advantage to train your air hunger and your oxygenation in general.
About Buteyko and Oxygen Advantage, because but maybe if you want to finish responding to the previous question, I will ask about that afterwards.
Okay. Then I see it's very worth it to try and to integrate the Wim Hof method into your morning routine or evening routine. So, and even maybe, you know, have this ready when also, you know, I remember this one surfer. He came up with this great story before surfing. He was already a world-class surfer. You
Mm-hmm.
know, he had surfed all the big waves, but there was a time in his life when he was worrying and he was very anxious before the surf started. So he found the Wim Hof method. He did it 30 minutes before starting the competition. I think he didn't do the 3 rounds, maybe 1 or 2 rounds, just to offload the
Mm-hmm.
bad, the negative thoughts. So he was just, you know, he cleared his mind and he was ready to surf this great and this big waves. So that as an example, have
Mm-hmm.
this ready and have it ready because you are used to do it and you know, okay, just, you know, you can do 20 breath, you can do 10 breath and hold your breath, maybe just for half a minute. It doesn't need to be
Mm-hmm.
always 2 minutes or 1:30 or whatever. And just feel how it clears your mind and you are also in an alert state. So this is something I would recommend to every athlete, amateur, elite level, try to work with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you get the experience when you do it in your morning routines and, you know, 3-4 times a week. That's something you should aim for a certain while to make experiences. And to conclude, it's also nice to have it when, you know, after competition, maybe things didn't go as you wanted, or I had players training with the professional players and they didn't show their best performance. They made many mistakes and they were just, you know, just busy in their head. They couldn't fall asleep. So I taught them to do the breathing in a nice way, calm way, but, you know, 3-4 rounds to just let go the stress, let go of the negative thoughts. You cannot change it anyways, to
Mm-hmm.
go to find into sleep. And that's something that's also nice.
Okay, super interesting. I just got a note that we have only 10 minutes for the free version. So that's a challenge, but I have so many questions, you have no idea, but maybe not everything needs to be asked now. Very nice, thank you. Very clear and practical advices as well for those who are already practicing. And without going deep into chemistry, but still, I want to ask like a few things about like a few things about the Buteyko technique and the oxygen advantage as like a continuing of Buteyko, I guess. And most of the people who are going to listen most probably read a book that is written by James Nestor, and it explains a lot. There are a lot of wonderful examples of that also in professional sports community. A few words about that principle. What does it bring to people in general, but also to sportsmen or and women?
Mm, people in general and also to sports. Well, the Buteyko technique itself, as I understand it, is about, okay, breathe less, breathe more gentle, because in today's society, people tend to over breathe through the mouth and over breathe in general. They breathe too much. So, and at first you may think, okay, well, breathing is important. We know we need oxygen, so breathing is good. The other part of the medal is if we breathe a lot, we offload the carbon dioxide that we need to deliver the oxygen into the cells. So the carbon dioxide is actually one of the crucial elements we need. And that's why Buteyko, the founder of the method, and Patrick McKeown, he kind of founded this method, Oxygen Advantage, that grounds on the Buteyko method. They say it's for everyone's health even much better to breathe less, because you will train your immune system to balance your your autonomous nervous system. And if you have a balanced autonomous nervous system, like the parasympathicus and the sympathicus, if they are, you know, level in a nice way, our total system is more at balance, and other chronic diseases will slow down, will dissolve, will not even happen, like asthma. That is the Buteyko starting point, asthma, breathing problems in general. And he found through this less breathing and training air hunger and rising the carbon dioxide levels in general, the problems dissolved.
Yeah.
It just were gone.
Incredible.
And he taught a lot of people, and he taught also like other teachers using Buteyko, other coaches in the sports world. They trained elite level athletes like runners and swimmers to really train the air hunger as long as they can, to hold, for example, when you do the swimming, hold your breath longer, or when you do the running, hold your breath while you run and withstand this urge to breathe. Because in long term, you build it up step by step, of course. You optimize the oxygenation and the efficiency of the O2 transport, and that will maximize the performance. It's a very good theory, and there are a lot of anecdotal data. There, to be honest, there is not a strong, valid
scientific
findings or scientific back up showing that you got to do the Buteyko breathing for improving sports performance, but there are many anecdotals.
Yeah, very interesting. So is it about the resilience towards the stressful lack of O2 or lack of O2 that would be stress otherwise, that makes that technique so important also for sports performance?
Can you rephrase the question?
Yeah, so when we talk about Buteyko technique applied to sportsmen, is that so such a good technique from the empirical research, because the person who is doing active sport is then more able to efficiently transport O2 in the body. Is it about O2 transportation actually?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's
about
very...
O2. It is. And I think the main point, or one of the main points why it hasn't spread all over the sports scene, is it's tough. It's tough to train the air hunger, and the feeling of I'm not
breathing enough.
allowed to breathe now, and I want to go further, go over my limits. It's tough because it's such a natural desire to breathe.
Yeah.
So, and that's different to the Wim Hof. I mean, we also train a little bit this air hunger mode, a little bit.
Yeah,
in the second phase, after the breathing out, you let go. Okay, then you hold your breath. But it's, as you know, because of the trick, it's nicer to hold the breath till the end. But even at the end, we tell our clients, okay, when you want to breathe, yes, please take,
like, don't force, basically.
And in Buteyko, it's more push you, twist yourself a little bit more to go over. And even then again, athletes, and then it depends on the sport. For example, football players, when they are on the pitch, there's just too much around, and there's a ball, and there are opponents, and there's a goal. You don't have that in mind. So it's maybe just for running. And also, of course, football players run, so they could train it there. But maybe it's just a little bit nerdy. That's why they don't do it. But I know that there are already some single football players out there who use it for themselves, because they saw the effects and they see it as an advantage for themselves.
Yeah. And the breathing in the match, let's say, is there a specific tip you're giving? Because what I remember is also about Buteyko technique is this Richard Ross, the lady, famous one, who was doing the breathing through the nose, breathing in, and through the mouth, letting go, or breathing out while sprinting. So she was applying a certain breathing method during the actual, I don't know, championship or actual activity. Is that also, and we only have 2 minutes, which is a pity, but still, maybe just to conclude, do you emphasize certain breathing way for the people who are gonna go into the match as the right one, as the correct one, as the advisable one?
Yeah, if like just the sprinting, it's a more controllable situation.
Yeah.
I would recommend, yes, try to get used to breathe through the nose in training and competition. Maybe in through the nose, out through the mouth. You can look, but that's something I would say, yes, go for it, and you will see the advantages. You will also see that you will recover faster after hard training, after hard sprinting training, when you do this more controlled breathing. At first you think like, I need air, but there are just 2-3 breaths. You take through the nose and out through the mouth, and you feel the difference, because when you do this mouth breathing, it looks sometimes like that when you're out of breath. And what happens? You offload carbon dioxide a lot.
Yes.
But if you do this controlled breathing through the nose, it's like, and already now I feel like it's more calm, and you relax easier, faster than this uncontrolled breathing. So this is something, it's definitely worth it. And then if you go for it for like 4 or 5 weeks, we will also see the benefits in your running time and your recovery time, and how you feel the next day. I'm pretty sure it's worth it to try it out.
We have a few seconds, so I am saying, before I thank you